content discussed on this show is provided for reference and educational purposes. The content is not an attempt to practice medicine or provide specific medical advice. Always consult your personal physician for medical advice and proper diagnosis. Hello, I'm Ryan Alford, your co-host, joined by my business partner and good friend, Chris Hansen, down in the Vacay Lounge in Miami. What's up, Chris?
What's going on, my brother? How are you?
I'm fabulous. I'm feeling like I need to get my weights out, pump these arms up. I'm feeling like, I need to get it going here. I should have brought my curl bar or something. We're joined by...
You just got to put the cutoff on, man. You just got to put the cutoff on. That's all it's about.
Joined by former Navy SEAL and foreign Legionnaire, Clay Cavanaugh. What's up, brother?
Feeling like a villain, man. Thanks for having me, guys. Thanks for everybody for listening in.
Taylor, what's cooking there? You're in San Diego, right?
Yep. Yeah, San Diego area. But yeah, I'm from San Diego. I go back and forth between San Diego and just north of San Diego, Temecula area.
Nice. We appreciate you coming on the show. We're all about health, wellness, and alternative ways to take care of yourself. And, it looks like you're taking care of those arms. So I'm envious of the tank top and the sleeves.
Bro, all you got to do is visualize really hard, man. That's all you got to do.
Taylor, set the table for our listeners. Let's talk a little bit about your backstory. We'll get into what you're doing now. And, let's talk about that wellness journey. But ultimately, I know you've, lived a dozen lives, it sounds like, through a lot of trials and tribulations. But let's set the table for everyone.
The 30,000 foot overview is, had a lot of trouble growing up, a troubled youth, but ended up getting into the military, had some friction points, let's say, getting in the military. I had to go to jail to kind of clear up some stuff, and was given an opportunity to get into the Navy, and with the goal of being a Navy SEAL, and I achieved that. Went to SEAL Team 7, was at SEAL Team 7 for 7 years, sniper, JTAC, communication specialist, advent-laden specialist, Yemen, Iraq, done some cool stuff. And during that time, though, as happened to a lot of guys who may be listening in, is, when we start peaking, we start getting a little ahead of our skis, man. We start getting a little cocky, a little loose, right? Things that we were tight on before, we're realizing, hey, I don't really need to be that tight and I can still achieve this. And that's what happened to me. And I just was still focused, but was drinking and partying too much, man. Like, that's the bottom line. And if you want to play with fire, you're going to get fucking burned. And that's what happened to me, man. And I ended up getting a couple arrests. And that final arrest ended up just bringing enough heat on me that I got pushed out of the military with a general discharge. Started into the civilian world, doing some measures of success. As a supervisor on a large private developer. And then into working for a venture capitalist, launching a cannabis company and things like that. And so I had these measures of success, but man, my habits were terrible. I'm talking alcohol, weed, Xanax, Adderall, all that shit every day. Like, I didn't miss a day, man. I was structured with my messing up, man. And because I was still could touch my success or measures of success. And so I'm like, man, nobody can tell me shit. Obviously, what I'm doing is working. And the truth is, man, you mess with universal principles too long, it's gonna come crashing down. You cannot bend reality for that long. And a lot of guys understand what I'm talking about. And that's exactly what happened to me, man. Face down, did a line of fentanyl, which I had stacked on also, doing that every day for about a year, and just smashed my face. It was just, everything came crashing down, right, as happens, and my life fell apart. And 3 months later, I was homeless in my truck with a sawed-off shotgun on my lap, just trying to make sense of what happened to my life. And I came to the conclusion that I was being selfish, sitting there in this pity party. I had a mom, sister, people that relied and cared about me. And, what was I leaving to there? What kind of legacy was I leaving with that? And I was just being a coward thinking that way. And so I decided I was going to make a change, man. And I was like, fuck it, I'm joining the French Foreign Legion. If I'm going to go out, I'll do it with my boots on. And that's what I did, man. And 8 days later from that moment, I was in France at the gate of the Fort Nogent, which is where you enter into the French Foreign Legion, man. And that's kind of what started into my path of wellness and looking internal of self to, unlearn some stuff and figure out what I was doing for this revolving self-sabotage to just not do it anymore.
How would you compare? There's a lot to unpack there, Taylor, and
Yeah.
could go down a lot of different paths. But I think because you finished there, how you compare the French Foreign Legion versus the Navy SEALs?
Mash apples and oranges, bro.
I know.
And oranges. Well, first of all, it's just a different military unit, right?
Yes.
One's special operations, and one is highly trained infantry, shock troops. Right. So it's a completely different philosophy. One is, hey, be a thinking shooter, adapt and overcome, and one is shut the fuck up and go.
Yeah.
And also there's the culture of the Foreign Legion. For people that aren't aware of what it is, it's a foreign military unit, internal of France, comprised of only foreigners, that's about 200 years old and was started by an old king in France who just wanted to get foreigners who were hanging out in bars and causing trouble, who had been at a previous war of his, back onto the battlefield and working for France. And the carrot was they would give you French citizenship if you served your time, kind of like the old Roman legions. It's kind of that same structure. And it worked, and they kept it going. And they don't have the political pressure of, French body bags coming back, and they can use foreigners fighting their wars and stuff. And so that you get a lot of tough guys coming from Eastern Bloc countries and gulags. And you got some tough dudes coming in, heads blasted and tattoos, faces blasted. You got some interesting cats that come through those gates. And so they got a tough culture, right? It's very prison-like. It's very check in, check out. There's no messing around. You walk across the grass wrong in the Foreign Legion, they're going to put you in jail. Dead serious. I'm not joking. And so, they poke you with a stick and then they give you a gun and tell you to go to some other country. And I needed that though. Man, I needed to shut the fuck up and think. I had too many distractions and I needed to get humbled hardcore because you're cleaning toilets, man. They love to give that former Navy SEAL the fucking toilet brush, bro. They love that, dude. And so I needed that baptism in humility. I really did.
Well, for you to reflect on that, it shows how far you've obviously come and what you've learned. And I always want to ask this to Navy SEALs. I've asked this for a few people. We haven't had them on this show, but I've talked to a few. And, I've had family that served, none that were Navy SEALs. But how fucking hard was it to...
Bro, it's hard.
Yeah. I think I want people to hear that because we've never had a Navy SEAL on this show. So... we could probably talk for 2 hours on just that experience alone, but just give someone our listeners a taste of what it takes to be a Navy SEAL.
Man, it takes you deciding you don't have a plan B. That's really what it boils down to. You have got to have painted yourself into a corner, emotionally and mentally, to make it through. Because if you have like a possibility of some other life that might work out, you're going to be gone in the moment it gets really cold. Because that hypothermia is the great equalizer. And just to give you this is stuff that people don't understand. When they would put us in surf torture, people get so cold they'll seizure, right? Seizure when they pull you out of the water. But some guys would fake, right? Some guys would fake a seizure. So what they decided to do is they made us swallow these pills that are like this big. It's a temperature pill that measures your core temperature. So when they pulled you out, a doctor would walk by and wand all of our stomachs. So if somebody seizured, they go, that guy's faking. Tell him to get back in. Right? It's a serious, and it's nighttime. Right? And so you have those moments, man. If you have some warm, cozy place that you can go to, you're going to be gone fast. And then sometimes just guys can't run fast enough or swim fast enough. There's the actual failure piece, and there's a lot of technical tests you have to do too: pool competency, diving, explosives. Got to be able to shoot. There's stuff that goes on that you have to pass also to be competent. So and it's just volume, the amount of running and the amount of stuff you're doing. I've seen guys stress fractures so bad that the bones come out of their legs, out of their shins.
Damn.
I'm talking all-American wrestlers, guys who have done some stuff. You got to have some bone density bred in. Also, you got to have been drinking your milk, man. Growing up, because and it's a decision, right? The guy who makes the decision to leave and the guy who makes the decision to stay both just made a fucking choice, right? And that's where it comes down to.
Should we be thanking our lucky stars, pun intended, that we have this type of outfit as part of the protection of our country?
I'll tell you what. There's no joke. I mean, there's guys operating the tip of the spear. A lot of my homies, if guys know what I'm talking about, that are the real deal. Be grateful that those guys, I mean, not even just the real deal. I mean, the real deal internationally. Tip of the absolute spear. And it makes sense. Those guys that are there are really good, solid dudes, and so the system works. Be grateful that we have it. And special operations in general, I'm not just talking about SEALs, Green Berets also, Special Forces, PJs, Air Force, all those guys are force multipliers, right? Very cost-effective unit that get a lot of shit done, right? Kill a lot of enemy, kiss a lot of babies, win a lot of hearts and minds too, because it's not just kicking doors in, right? You have to build relationships with local populations. You have to know how to think and know when to apply aggression and when you not. And most often it's no, right? That's actually what they weed out is guys that can't do that, right? Because most of it's pulling back. It's not pushing forward. So that's it's yes. Hugely grateful that those units exist because they work.
I just don't get the impression, and I don't know. I mean, but you know what you read, and if you are connected enough, but like, I just don't know that other countries show or demonstrate the discipline or the dedication to defense that I feel like the U.S. does. Yeah.
We spend a lot of money. That's for sure.
Exactly.
We spend a lot of money. I mean, if you're asking me a political thing, we spend too much money in a lot of areas, right? We have a lot of stuff that we can look internal, right? But I also think that there's a lot of stuff that they should be using special operations for that they use regular military for that's way, way overpriced, right? Yeah. And so that's why if you look at cost effectiveness, man, special operations is like this much of the military budget, but does about this much work, right? So that's why if you really looked at it, there's ways to make this a lot more efficient. But that being said, man, French special operations, the English, I've deployed with some guys. I mean, they're doing work too. Maybe not. They're not the meat and potatoes of the situation, but they're guys are dying, guys are working in a lot of different countries, and so we got to tip our cap to them too, because there's a lot of countries doing some work that we don't even hear of, right? And so that.
Did you get your French? Did you get your French citizenship? They still do that?
No. That's a good question. Ryan, because it's usually takes a second contract, usually takes a minimum of 7 years, 7 to 8, actually. And it's hard. And it's that naturalization and that French citizenship, you have to, show intent to stay there. It's a heavier process. It used to be at 5 years, they kind of stopped doing it. And now it takes a little bit longer. So, man, I didn't want it anyway, right? I didn't request it. I didn't want dual citizenship and I didn't want French citizenship from the get-go.
It sounds like it was, obviously it served its purpose for them, you being there, but it sounds like it was just your own personal trial and tribulation to get to the other side. I mean, that's ultimately what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I needed it. I needed to use it as a vehicle of self-development. I knew that walking in those gates, I needed to have everything stripped away, even my name. Right? They give you a fake name and a fake French passport when you show up. And I didn't get my passport. I didn't see it for 3 years after I handed it to him. And so, or my name, so there's a whole psychological piece to that, which was cool and unique and I needed. And plus just the quiet. There's, you go in the military, that's one thing, but you're even in a foreign military in even a starker environment. Man, it was, barracks rooms, quiet. You're pretty regimented. And, I deployed to South America with them in the jungle I did deep jungle operations for 4 months, doing interdiction of gold mines and stuff. And then I went to the Russian border in Estonia with them, working with English, Danish. So I got to experience some stuff, but you're busy, right? They keep you real busy. And I was at a mountain infantry unit. We were in the French Alps climbing and getting my ass kicked. I'm not a mountain goat, dude. I pay the man. up there, bro. I am not built for that billy goat stuff. I don't know why I picked that place, dude. I was dying. Fuck.
I will say it sounds like the rehab that people need, like instead of I mean, for real. I mean,
I agree.
You didn't classify it that way, but I'm just listening and dissecting and I'm going, this is the rehab that we need to be putting people through instead of those cozy farms in, wherever. I mean, and I'm not saying everybody.
Beverly Hills, Passages, Malibu.
Yeah, the Malibu Hills, man.
No wonder those guys, all these systems that we have, though, are built for money and for them just to get back in, because you don't get rehabilitated. I'm not saying anyone. There's certainly examples. So I'm not painting with too wide of a brush here, but a lot of it, we just need to send them to the damn foreign Legionnaire. Legion,
bro, that's actually a good pitch, bro. That's a good pitch for the poster. Like, hey, man, you need to get cleaned up? We got you, bro.
That's what they should do.
Well, no growth happens in comfort, right? If you're all comfortable, cozy, sitting by the pool in Malibu, right?
Okay.
I mean, you got to really want to change in a place like that.
Yeah.
So it's hard, and there's something to be said for it's hard to get healthy in a same place that made you sick.
Yeah.
And that was a big piece for me is I knew I needed to, change your latitude, change your attitude. That was exactly the truth for me. I had to cut away from just old way because you get caught in those old ways of thinking. It's very difficult to break away from that if you're in the same setting. I mean, it takes a strong person to do that. And I 100% agree with you. Stuff's just too comfortable in general. And so it's hard to change in that setting.
Taylor, I mean, you've had on a personal level, like the highest of highs, both chemically and the military, the Legion. Like, what keeps you up now? Like, what's the purpose? What's the why now for you? Because, I mean, you've had such ends of these spectrums. It's really interesting to me to think about what drives you now.
Man, that's actually a good question, Ryan. And what I feel so good about doing the right shit now, right? I actually get fucking high now from telling myself no. And I realized when I really started to examine how many times I have to tell myself no daily, I'm like, wow, man, I was off one because I go, man, 5 years ago, I would have said yes to that. Or 5 years ago, I would have said, and it's often throughout the day. It's not like it just goes away, but I know where it leads. Right, I'm smart enough now. I'm like, I know where it's gonna lead, and it's gonna lead me to no good place. And I started to really appreciate not feeling shameful or regretful. That was because I was so shameful and regretful so often. It almost got like comfortable, like that. It almost I got used to feeling that just kind of cloud of hiding things, of living a dual life. And really, I had no concept of universal principles and I kind of knew karma and things like that. So I wasn't trying to going out doing like terrible shit to people or anything like that. But man, if you're not your best self, you're stacking karmic debt. You 100% are, because that regret and that bad energy and that internal feeling of that internal negative state, man, it's going in and it's going out and it's going everywhere and people are sending it back to you. And this life it counts, man. Everything matters. Pluses and minuses, right? What happens behind closed doors matters just as much as what happens out here in these streets. You cannot hide from it. And that's where people start. That's when I just decided to accept that. Man, my life started getting better, right? I stopped having bad days. I stopped having to hide shit and stop doing weird shit. Bottom line, and fuck, man, my life got better.
It's funny. We all want to make it complicated, like we like to complicate things. I don't know that we like it, but it's like human nature. It's complex. It's got to be the secret to success. There's no way. It's 17 things, 100 things.
It's 17.
But it's but it's like,
I like that. Yeah.
But when you get down to it, though, it's a lot more simple, man. It becomes some binary decision making, like you said. Like, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do that. You know, like, this is unacceptable. This is acceptable. There, you know, the line in the sand has to become, you know, that wall we were trying to build down in Mexico. It can't be a line in the sand. You step across lines of sands. What you do is, but you don't go across a damn wall that's 20 feet high.
and you're right. It's people. It's that purpose-driven choice over pleasure-driven choice. That's as simple as it could be. Man, is this completely pleasure-driven or purpose-driven? Man, if you continually, more often than not, choose that purpose-driven, delayed gratification-minded path, man, your life is going to be so much better. It will lead to a much better place, but it's not easy, right? I would say, man, the road to paradise is uphill. It is uphill, man. And so it's going to take some work. It's not going to be fun. You know, it doesn't have to be miserable, though. And that's what I always think is there's this, like, static kind of like, man, if I'm not suffering, I'm not. It doesn't have to be like that, right? You don't have to be in this terrible mental state, you know, freezing your balls off and fucking cold plunges for hours a day to reach some level of peace. You don't. And that's where the complication comes in. You know, people have these morning routines, and I'm all for a good morning process, but man, people are like, if I don't have my 3-hour morning process, then my day's shot. It's like, man, I want something simple, repeatable, that's all about simplicity, right? Because that overcomplication, man, if you're in an Airbnb in a hotel, what are you going to do, right? I want something packable that I can take with me at all the time, which I need a black coffee and a floor, right? For my morning routine, man. That's all I need. And that success is subtractive. Truthfully, people need to do not more shit, less shit. That's usually the answer is, that's what I do. That's what I usually, when I'm dealing with clients and people, I'm like, well, let's look at what you're doing. I'm like, well, take that away, throw that in the trash, and quite literally, you know, clean out your closet, literally, clean out your house, man. Start stripping stuff down to the studs, and you start realizing, wow, I'm happier, I'm more productive, I'm more organized, right? It's like, it's this process of subtraction, and then, you know, obviously you can't leave voids. You have to substitute in some more positive things.
Multiplication by subtraction.
Oh, I like that. Ooh, that one's even better, man. I'm not that good at math, so I don't want to be too many X's and minuses and stuff. But
you know, it's not addition by subtraction; it's multiplication.
I like that. That's absolutely true.
It is, though, and you know, I think I've talked about that. I think I talked about it recently. Some of the most successful people in the world, and one thing I'll say is the path to perfection is simple as hell, but it's hard as fuck.
Man, that's well said.
And so,
that's well said.
But here's what Steve Jobs, founder of Apple, wore the same outfit every day.
Yep.
He wore, and you know what? It's for this exact reason. It took one more decision, wasted effort, wasted thinking away from him. Yeah. And it's the same thing. He subtracted complication in his life. And there was like supposedly hundreds of examples that he did like this. You know, and I'd have a hard time with wearing the same thing every day, but it, you know, I probably could live in gym clothes. But but it's so true. We think we got to add more, and sometimes that's just doing the right things more, but less of the wrong shit.
Yeah, do the right things more correct and better. And you're right, decision fatigue's a real thing. People deciding what they want to eat, what they want to wear, what all these small decisions. Man, how much time does those small decisions add up? That's why when I'm like, hey, break down your day. I'm like, man, eat the same fucking thing 6 times a day, 5 times a day. Strip it down. You don't need to be, and make it simple, right? The more simple it looks, the better it is for you. And man, do you need all those clothes you haven't worn in 5 years? Get rid of them, right? You're gonna, dude. I have 2 jeans and all black shirts, bro. Like, what do you got? This one's cut off because I was feeling fancy. But man, you don't need, but you know, gym clothes and stuff. Man, I got fitness companies will send me gym stuff. I'm like, bro, I don't want all this stuff, man. I don't know where to put it, bro. I'm gonna wear the same thing every day anyway, bro. I could not subscribe to that more often, you know. But that, you know, it's nice being Steve Jobs. He doesn't have to put anything on he didn't want to put on, you know, which is nice. But I couldn't agree with that line of logic more.
Yeah. Chris, I know Taylor's been on your radar for a bit. I'll kind of open it up for you.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on the universal principles you mentioned a couple of times. because we kind of ended off on the French Foreign Legionnaire. What was the change after that? When did the universal principles and educating yourself on that all come into play? Like, because you're speaking a lot of like deep shit. Like you've obviously done a lot of work on it. Where did this knowledge come from?
Man, I love that. Man, Chris, Chris, we connected, bro. We're on that same vibe, man. I really, sometimes you just meet people and kind of connect people, and people get it, man. You get it, like that approach. So I appreciate that, man. Thanks for having me on too. So, man, Vacay Lounge too. I dig that, bro. Vacay Lounge, bro.
Come on down, bro. We got your seat right here, ready to lay it down.
Dude, I love that. Yeah, the universal principles is, once I realized I was sitting in that barracks room in the Foreign Legion at the mountain, man, it's super isolated regiment base. And I realized, oh shit, there's no other, and I still wasn't happy, right? I don't like that word, but something was missing. And I went, oh shit, there's no other place to go to get some title or some institutional title to fix my identity, right? I was a SEAL, still had some fucking holes. Then I'm like, all right, let's go be a Legionnaire. What else is there? Did it. And then there was like this gap. And I went, oh shit, right? There's nowhere else in the earth to go to get some fucking title from some big institution that can make me feel good about myself. So then I started looking internal, man. I started reading Stoic philosophers, Seneca, Nero, or Marcus Aurelius, old samurai philosophers like Musashi, right? And I'm like, all these guys are saying the same shit, the same principles, that same hour of the tiger, 3:30 in the morning type stuff. And when being aligned with your purpose. And the Cavanaugh, obviously, was the old universal principle book where it's talking about all this stuff. And I resonated, and I really started to try to not just like read it, but like apply it. And really, you need to become a temple of peace in the Foreign Legion, or your head's going to explode, because there's some very tough individuals to deal with. Let's just say that, right? And I had to start looking at everybody as a lesson, right? And start having emotional control and start understanding, man, am I getting some negative energy because I'm putting it out? And I was starting to be taking ownership for my vibrational level, right? When I knew I would dip and my self-talk would dip, to actually get like physical movement in. And then what do you know? And then started to just apply these things, and slowly, and it didn't happen overnight, right? It was just like, okay, now I'm going to start getting up earlier and earlier and earlier and really start doing it every day. And not just, I had never done that in my life. I had been a Navy SEAL. I had been disciplined and working out in the morning, but it was like just not locked the fuck on and not intentional in that capacity. Once I started doing it with intention, taking time to self-reflect, read a little bit, not War and Peace every day, but, some quotes, some things to kind of get some outside information. And that's when things started to kind of align. And when I started to keep that vision and those goals at the forefront of my mind, and really I like the law of attraction, in that capacity, but I like law of rhythm, understanding times of compression and expansion, and maintaining that good internal state and being responsible for it. That's when I just started to kind of dive into that world and really just started to feel better, man. Because that's really the bottom line of why I did it, Chris, was just to feel better. Like, I just wanted to just feel not that tension and like always fighting things. And man, it really worked. It really worked. And I that's why I'll sing that shit from the rooftops, man. Because people need to understand this shit, man. Whether you believe in universal principles or not, doesn't matter. They're real. It doesn't fucking matter what you think, man. Right? They're real. If you don't, hey, there's a guy who doesn't believe in gravity. Go jump off a roof and talk to me after. Right? It's like, you're gonna eat shit. It's real, man. And so and I think most people who've been through some shit know it's real too. Right? Anybody who hasn't been through shit, they're like, I'm like, well, stand the fuck by then. Right? Because you're going to find out the hard way.
Yeah, it's to use that analogy with the gravity, people that aren't following these principles or ignoring them or living the wrong way, it may not be as fast as that jump off the building, but they are on a slow smash to the face to the ground, and it's coming like a freight train.
they're going to wonder, man, why am I living in anxiety? And that's what I use often, because there's so many people who just walk through their day not happy, not content, and definitely not grateful, right? Because a grateful person generally is not unhappy. So they're just definitely not grateful. They're not, which means they're not aware, which means they're not applying situations or tactics for growth. They're not self-reflecting. They're completely they're distracted in every capacity that we know. Phones, just distracting themselves with dumb shit. And you're right. It's this slow decline of anxiety, not happy, taking it out on other people. And not everybody's so hardcore, right? They're subtle. They'll just make comments or just be negative or just be a pain in the fucking ass to be around. Those people, and they will just never, ever get out of that. And then they blame, then they'll say, oh man, this is it, or this is the problem. It's out there. It's never them. And that's unfortunate. It really is. And at some point, or maybe they just die like that, they'll have that moment. And unfortunately, it's a lot of people's deathbeds. That's when they experience that shit. They're like, you know what? I wasn't living right my whole life. And they fucking die in regret. Fuck that, man.
Back to like people trying to make things hard or simple and all that. It starts with a fucking mirror. Because you cannot, if you have gratitude, if you're a gracious person, you have gratitude in your life, you've taken accountability for yourself. I don't know a single person that has gratitude that hasn't looked themselves in the mirror and owned a lot of shit, and known that it starts with them. And so it starts with the fucking mirror, man. And like I say this a lot, nobody's coming to save you, and it's all your fucking fault. And I say it to myself too. And the sooner that you can kind of grasp that, it doesn't mean that there aren't outlets to help. It doesn't mean that you don't have support groups and family. I don't mean that like that, but it's just like, it's so funny. You said it earlier, Taylor, like you realized, started focusing on your center, and that's just it.
Yeah. It's what's that old saying, when I point the finger at somebody, got three pointing back at me. I like that saying a lot. And that's when I really could get honest, and I got honest about why my life had fallen apart. I went, oh shit, it was all me, right? I wasn't good. Whatever relationship failed, it wasn't her. I was not my best self. So I don't have any fucking room to talk, right? Mm-hmm. That's when I started to, and I talk to business. I have, CEO clients and guys, and they're like, hey, some guy stole from me. I said, guess what? You hired him. It's fucking your fault, right? Yeah. That's when you start taking those levels of ownership, man, shit gets a lot easier, right? Because you don't have any power over that person. So what's the point, right? In blaming them or trying to, let go or be dragged, right? Cut it away. That old Zen proverb, just start chopping it. Your time is going to be expeditiously increased when you just start going, yep, it was me. Okay, moving on. How do I fix it? Because you have total control over yourself, how you approach situations, everything. It's the only thing you have control over. So might as well make it all your fault, right? It starts in the mirror. You got me the chills when you said that, because most people look in the mirror, but who looks at the person in the mirror, right? And goes, man, am I the person that I'm, and just stare at yourself in the eyes, man. Are you proud of that person? Is that person, are you proud of that person? You should be. If you're not, then really assess what you need to fix. If you're in the woods lost, man, if you don't know where you're at, you're fucked, right? You can't take a bearing and a back azimuth. If you don't do all that stuff, man, you don't know where to go, right? You are lost in the woods, and you better just sit still until you figure out where you're at. And that's what I think is, once you get honest about where you're at, guess what? Now we can get out of the woods. Now we can fix that shit. And so that honesty in the mirror is fucking powerful. It is. It's the root. It's everything.
Yeah. The mirrors in a lot of houses are broken. There is no reflection.
Yeah.
But here's what it is. We're looking at everything else. Okay, what do my shoes look like? What do my shirts look like? What does this look like? But like what you just said, you don't stare yourself in the fucking eyes sometimes, like for like 30 seconds. You'll either scare yourself or you'll, because we don't like, and I'm not, a way with which to connect. But I think it's the only way. You got to like center yourself a little bit, like remind yourself. Because I think we live in this world where we've got these screens and we've got the stuff and we walk around and we do things. And there's like this loss of humanity on some level. Like you have to like ground yourself, kind of like, well, I think I almost use the analogy like walking around with your bare feet outside. You know, I know a lot of people talk about that because it's like reconnecting. Like I'm a real person.
Real. Yeah, grounding is absolutely real. You're connecting with the energy of the earth. We have rubber soles on our feet. We're not meant to be separated in that way. So you've got to get off the asphalt, stand in the actual sand, stand on the ground, stand on the grass, right? Just for a little bit. It changes your vibrational level. Then guess what? Then the way the next person you come into contact with is getting a totally different frequency of who you are. You can't fake a frequency. They're sensing something different. And guess what? That person goes off and is in a higher frequency also. Think about the ripple effect of you just putting your feet on the ground. Imagine all these people doing it, but people don't even think to do it. Right. And I'm not saying I'm out barefoot in the grass every day like I probably should, but because we live in these concrete jungles a lot of times, it's hard to get away from it. But, you know, that deliberate approach, at least, of being aware of where you're at. Right. And not just vomiting negativity onto people when you're feeling in a bad way and taking that responsibility. I think a lot of men and women should take that responsibility. Go, you know what? I'm in a low vibrational state. Excuse yourself. Fix yourself and come back, right? So you can fucking act right, right? That's being an adult. That's being an adult, right? And so that's what I think is that ownership piece. Man, take ownership of even how you're feeling internally, your internal state. You don't have to say anything to be negative, right? We've been around people who are you just sense it, right? Man, get out of here with that bitch ass energy, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, man, you're fucking my chi up, bro.
Yeah, you're messing my vibe.
Yeah, you can fight against it if you're a strong individual, but it's gonna wear on you after a while. Man. And I think we're all aware of that. Like, Chris, I saw some content of you recently. You're answering some questions about, you know, old drug use and kind of getting arrested, or man, when you were in those states, right? That negative rotational state. Man, like, were you taking time to like look at yourself and like really assess who you were?
Hell no. Unless I was looking at the mirror, just hating myself, but I wasn't taking any action. I sure shit wasn't self-reflecting a whole lot. Cause you're in that survival chaos, fucking reptile brain. Just my vibration was so shit. So shitty vibration, dude.
Yeah. And you're not even you don't even have the ability, and I'm agreeing with you, because man, when I was in that drug fucking induced I didn't even have the ability to self-reflect. Right? I don't even think I had that like awareness to do it. I couldn't
understand it.
Yeah,
now, looking back, I see there were certain people that were different, and I really noticed it with my nephews, my sister's kids. And it always made me feel, like you said, that guilt and shame where I'm like, they fucking know. They know because I'm vibrating on a sketch level, basically. Yeah. Being sketchy, and they're picking up on it. I can bullshit my family verbally, but the kids, they feel that energy and that frequency. And that always, looking back, especially years of that, it's like, why people treat me funny or whatever. It's like, bro, you're not showing up fucking correct. You're coming with some weird shit. So,
dude, that sketchy vibration. Like, I love that.
Maybe they were sensing the fucking Oxy 80s you were snorting on your center console before you walked in the family dinner. You know, like,
yeah, dude. Oh, that's heavy, bro. That's heavy. I just had that same realization the other day of like snipping on a center console, dude. I was just thinking about that today, bro. Like, what state that is, right?
It's crazy.
Well, yeah, but you know, start to normalize shit. Like, I mean, we've all been through shit. Like,
not even weird.
Everybody does this, right?
Hey, I'm just right here. Don't mind me. Yeah. Like, it's fucking weird,
back man. The back corner of the Home Depot parking lot in the middle of the day to, you know, crush up some pills. Like, this is normal. Like, no, bro, it's fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's wild what we'll just negotiate with ourselves is fucking good to go, man. And like what? And man, you're in that selfish state, right? Because it's like. Yeah. That's why the people that are in that selfish state, man, I want to feel good. This is, man, how I want to feel. how this is, man, are you thinking about it's all selfish in the wrong way, right? Because you can, be selfish about self-love. And so there's a different way to go about it. But man, it's all negative, right? It's all selfish. It's all, I want to feel good and I don't give a fuck about anything else.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's fucking scary state to be in, man.
Taylor, let's talk about some good stuff, man. You turned the page. Where are we at today? What's going on? Where are we at in life? How are you helping people? All that stuff.
Yeah, man. So launched the coaching business, kind of I do the long form YouTubes, kind of just dive into longer, deeper principles that I think help people and do the coaching, the mentorship, guys that want it, guys that just go, man, I need my fucking mojo back, dude. Like I've been there, like that stagnation, that feeling that you're just like, bro, I just can't shake it free. Man, a lot of times people just need a little outside accountability, some new information. You're like, hey man, let's do this for a little while, get you some momentum, right? And it doesn't have to stay like that forever, but guess what? I show guys where to look and they can find their answers, right? And it always comes down to more discipline, waking up early, being correct about what you eat in your training, and times for self-reflection. All that shit is the baseline principles for what I show guys. And, I get a lot of, I really enjoy it, man. I get a lot back from it. And guys that are like, man, I was going to fucking kill myself and I didn't. So thank you. I'm like, no problem. Fucking good on you, bro. Thank you for not doing that. Because those negative ripple effects are just destroy family and people. And we don't need to be like that, right? We can be the hero of our own story. You can be at a very low point and fucking come back way stronger. And I think that's what my story kind of shows. And when I try to put out on my Instagram and stuff, just positive stuff, but real shit, stuff that, struggling with, and try not to be fake or show all the fucking good stuff, try to show everything. And that's kind of where I'm at, man. Just kind of on that flow, trying to improve myself too, right? I still reach out to mentors and guys that I look up to and respect. I'm like, hey man, what are you doing? Right? Try to train with people that are better than me, always stronger, better physiques. There's just always places to improve. And that's what keeps me engaged, man. And I'm writing my book, dude. So I'm trying to get that full thing and talking to some people, and that thing's almost done. That'll be cool.
That's awesome, man. Well, we appreciate, and I mean it, I'm not just saying it, your service and your journey.
Thank you.
And where can everybody keep up with everything you've got going on and to get in touch with you, Taylor?
Yeah. So everybody can always get me on my website, TaylorCavanaugh.com. They got the contact form on there. Man, you reach out to me on there, you get my email direct. I don't work with the team, right? And also on my Instagram, TCavOfficial. You shoot me a DM, I'm Johnny on the spot with that. You get me, you don't get somebody else. And on my long form YouTube, TCav TV, they can get gym workouts, kind of cool stuff, and just stream of consciousness videos. Every video I do is one take, no edits. I don't press stop and I don't redo it. So that's like my thing. And so I just try to be that conduit on there where I talk about, lessons learned, things, military stuff. Sometimes it's just, stream of consciousness in the moment, but those are fun.
I encourage everyone to check out the YouTube. It's fucking loaded with, bro, I didn't realize your YouTube was pretty big.
Oh, thanks, Chris.
How long have you had it? Like 7-8 months?
Man, four months.
4 months, and you're at like 35, 40,000 followers. Which that tells you the quality of the content coming out. I got sucked in this weekend, a couple hours watching some of your stories on this.
Thanks, Chris.
This SEALs versus the Legion. Yeah, Ryan, you'll fuck with it.
Hey,
Chris, I appreciate that. And man, when it resonates with the real ones, I'm like, fucking cool, man. Because you always get the weirdos and the guys, and I'm like, man, look this. I'm like, look, man, if it doesn't resonate with you, all good, bro. But
yeah,
man, go check your vibration, come back correct.
Yeah, you don't know. Weirdo vibration.
Hey, watch that vibe check video.
Yeah, you need to fix those mirrors in the house.
Yeah, dude. Oh yeah, bro. Your mirror's broken, man.
Yeah. Taylor, we really appreciate it. And I look forward to getting to know you better. And thanks so much for coming on.
Nah, dude, you guys are cool, man. It's an awesome vibe. I was really excited to get on here, speak to you guys.
Great. And where to find us for Chris Hansen in the Vacay Lounge. I'm Ryan Alford. We'll see you next time.